Hi everyone. Today let's talk about Microsoft's AI subscription. Then we'll look at the economic calendar. Then we'll look at Max Payne, the charts. Then we'll look at my results for the day and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So Microsoft announced their new AI subscription, and they said it's going to cost around $30 per month, and that it could increase enterprise users' monthly prices by 83% in order to bring in additional revenue through subscription services. The stock rallied 4%, up to all-time highs. We've been talking about it sitting at those highs for a while. It broke out now and it's going much higher. Based on this news here today, they said AI once again. It'll be interesting to see what this AI subscription consists of and if anybody actually uses it. But right now, expectors are very optimistic on AI, and we'll see if Microsoft Copilot actually brings in some good revenue from Microsoft. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see retail sales came in slightly lower than expectations for the core, and about half here for headlines, so not great, but still growing. Previous reads were also revised up. So if we get to next month, we could see these numbers revised up once again, potentially. Overall, not terrible, but not great. Looking at tomorrow, we have CPI for Europe. That'll be interesting at 5 in the morning. We also have building permits at 8:30. Nothing major for the US markets. And then 20-year bond sitting at 4%. I think that'll be interesting to see at 1300. Moving over to the earnings calendar for today. We talked about this yesterday. Expectations are pretty low and everybody seems to be beating to the upside. And we saw that here again today. All the major players beat on the top and the bottom line. And looking at tomorrow, we have heavy hitters here with Tesla, as well as Netflix, IBM, Goldman Sachs, as well as US Bank Corp. Tesla and Netflix are going to be after hours tomorrow, so make sure if you're holding anything into the after hours tomorrow, especially if you're in the NASDAQ, that you're going to see some effects from Netflix and Tesla. Moving over to Max Payne, you can see we're still sitting around that 432 area for Max Payne. S&P is sitting all the way up at almost 454. So we're right in that zone, right at the top of the puts where we have been finishing just about every week. So I wouldn't expect to go too much higher here. Decent amount of calls in the market at 460. That's going to be the upside limit for me, at least for this week. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if we held in this zone, maybe even dipped a little bit and chopped in this area for the end of week close. Put call ratio still sitting at 2.7. Highest put strike down at 420. Highest call strike also sitting at 420. Not giving us a ton of information. Looking at the top of the puts for the close of the week. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps here on the hourly chart. Not much to say. We went straight up. Tested that 21 EMA just for a moment on the hourly chart. Went straight up. Hit my resistance line. Pulled back slightly and then continued much higher. So we got the breakout from that level. Next level to the upside here is at 457.57. So you're now trading in this zone here, looking for a hold or a push up to that level. Momentum did start to fade at the end of the day, which was interesting. Still lots of volume to the upside, a little bit of selling after hours. Not super convincing though. Again, looking for this level to hold. You can buy in that zone and look for a push to the next one. If it breaks down, we can look for a pullback down into 451.32 area, or maybe all the way down to these previous lows, but I don't think that's going to happen based on what we saw on Max Payne. Moving over to the Qs, you can see we got some selling in the morning like I suspected. I sold some options and then we saw a super strong rally, broke above trend here, closed above it. You can see I'm watching the zone here, 387 down to 348.48. Looking for some trading in this zone. I also sold a call up here, which is interesting. We'll see how that goes tomorrow. We saw quite a bit of selling here in the last hour and then that first hour of the after hours. Still at trend support, absolutely could hold here and push higher, but I was a little bit surprised by how much selling we saw. Daily chart, nothing much to say. Everything is still super bullish momentum, bullish RSI, nice strong close, above trend, looking at 389.37 to the upside. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow on the 4-hour. Russell broke above my 195.15 level. Looks good. Nice strong close. Finished basically at the highs. Momentum and RSI are both bullish. Looking up to 189.75 now. That is the level from the highs here in February. So watching that level, you can see we got above this and now we're pushing back into this zone. Absolutely could tag that as the next resistance. If it does happen, I would expect some rejection and some pullback after this pretty strong rally from 181 up into that area. We'll see what happens, but right now everything's still bullish. Dow also rocketing higher here today, tested that 345.24 level, broke above my next one, and then basically finished at the high looking at 350.92 as my next resistance. We also have trend sitting up at 352.60. Moving over to RSP, we've been talking about this one for the last few episodes. We saw a rejection from this level. We finished basically right at it. We did close technically above it, 153.29 versus 153.19. If it holds above that level, looking for 155.79, I really want to see this start to move higher with the other markets going higher. Equal weighted S&P is not really participating in that breakout yet. But if we get it tomorrow, that could be a nice indicator that we're going to be going higher. Again, you can see a very similar setup to the Russell, getting above this level, pushing into that next highest wick as we push into the final phases of this rally, in my opinion. Moving over to Apple and Tesla. Apple continues to test that previous high. We're now topping out at a double top. We talked about that double top coming to fruition. Now it has. We're waiting to see if we get above this level, see a bounce and a continuation. Absolutely could continue up to trend resistance around 202. Certainly could happen. But if it rejects from here and we start to see a push lower and we take out this midpoint, that would be a very strong indicator of a reversal on Apple. Not saying it's going to happen, but it absolutely could. RSI showing a lower high versus this previous high, starting to pull back a little bit. Definitely interesting here on Apple, something to watch. Tesla, on the other hand, still looking to push up to trend resistance, continues to rally here, doing just about what we expected. Get into the zone, find a rejection, get that final rally here. We'll see how that works out. Right now, we're right on track though. Moving over to Microsoft, let's take a look at this one on its own just for a moment. You can see we took out these all-time highs going back to November of 21, tested them here again in June of 23, and now we're at that level. We've been watching this trend line for a while throughout this rally, marking the bottom here in January of 23. Been chopping in and out of this zone for a while, kind of broke down from it, and then we rallied right to it, found a little bit of rejection at the end of day, but momentum, RSI, volume, everything looking bullish here on Microsoft after their announcement. Moving over to Staples and Discretionary. Staples found a little bit of legs, almost tested that 200 SMA, still holding above 74, looks decent. Still chopping in the zone, but a little bit more bullish after that support came through, and it's up a little bit after hours. Discretionary continues to grind at resistance. Really want to see this break out at this point and push up to 180 if it's going to go higher. Otherwise, it's not giving you a lot of upside potential as it continues to grind slowly at this resistance area. Moving over to financials and oil and gas. Financials continue to rally, made a new high here today. Everything looks good. Oil and gas rallied off of the 55 EMA. It held. We talked about that yesterday. Got into the zone, looking for a potential rejection at 135. But as long as this trend continues, we now have a low, high, looking for that higher high set up here on oil and gas. Everything looks good. Momentum moving towards bullish. RSI, not bad. Volume stepping up here. Everything looks okay on oil and gas. Moving over to breadth on the 50 and the 200. Step down once again here on the 50. We're still holding just barely above that 9 EMA, as well as trend support, as well as horizontal support. Really need to see this hold and rally up to the next level if we are going to continue. If this starts to break down and we continue to see markets going higher, that's going to be a pretty bearish indicator. Similarly here on the 200-day average, tested the 9 EMA, tested horizontal support, rallied a little bit here today. A little bit of divergence between the two, some strength on the 200-day average, doji on the 50-day. Want to see these start to move together tomorrow and the next day if it's going to happen. Otherwise, we might be consolidating at the major resistance of 92.25 on the 50-day. Moving over to the dollar. Basically right on track still holding in the zone. Double tapped now, so we have a double bottom. Got above the 21 EMA today. We'll look to see if we get that rally starting into the after hours today, early morning tomorrow. That could push equities down a little bit. Momentum also stepped down here today on the daily chart. Everything looking good for that pullback up to the 9 EMA on the daily and potentially a pullback in equities. Moving over to high yields and TLT. High yields rallied today, still not setting up a higher high yet, but we did mark a bottom at this previous high, looking to rally up to $93. That would be interesting. Hit trend resistance again. Momentum stepping down, RSI not super convincing, but if we rally up, make a new high on RSI, that would be great. See a little bit of follow through here, that would be awesome, up to 93.67. Overall, not super convincing. Definitely something to watch if we see another push here. TLT chopping at resistance on the 200, sitting at 102.13. We're also at this highly traded zone, looking to break down, in my opinion, set up a higher low versus this previous low, and then we can see a continuation up to 103.70 if it's going to happen. If we reject from here, you could absolutely see a high, lower high, bigger pullback, creating a lower low. So watching to see what happens at this point at key resistance. And I think the 200-day auction tomorrow could give us an indicator of where this is going to go. Looking at the VIX, continues lower, rejected off the 21. Not much to say. Move index also in the same zone. Volatility not doing much of anything as markets continue to rocket higher. Moving over to my accounts, you can see I am just a few dollars away from that 100,000. I don't think I've ever closed above 100,000 at the end of the session, so that would be pretty cool to see if it did happen. Otherwise, looking at my positions, I still have that covered call at 193. I might look to roll this out tomorrow, depending on what we see. The Russell did look a little bit weak at the end of session, but looking for that 195 to hold. Certainly could do that. I also sold a 195 put for my taxable account. Looking at the Qs, I have that one covered call still sitting at 377. Probably going to let that go tomorrow. We'll see how that plays out. I have a 183 put and a little bit of a loser here down at $47 credit, estimating about a 1% move down tomorrow. I also sold a 387 for 87 cents, preparing for a little bit more of a pullback after what we saw at the end of the session. We'll see how that plays out, but kind of neutralized here on the Qs after the rally that we saw today. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of Microsoft's new service. Is it going to make them a bunch of money, or is it going to be a dud because nobody knows what to do with it quite yet? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.